Can you please tell me who this Lycan King is? Her father did not reply to her, but rather continued with what he was doing. Vegan knew things wouldn't go as she planned. If her father was this quiet, then it only meant there was something fishy going on. You knew that what happened to me was related to my sister's newfound mate, right? This question seemed to have worked as her father raised his head to face her. She could tell from his expression that he wasn't expecting such a question from her. Why don't you go get some rest? Rest? How could her father treat her this way, when he fully knows what she was talking about? I can't rest, father. Please tell me Victoria ain't getting married to my mate. He froze, and the look in his eyes made her realize that she had been right all along. Uncontrollable tears flowed freely from her eyes at this knowledge. This was heart-wrenching. It was bad enough that he preferred her sister to her, but now he still wanted to hide the fact about what her sister had done. I get it that you hate me ever since Mum died, but can't you show me a little love? Vega held her head as the pain surged through her body. She was hurting awfully, but her father never seemed to care at all about her pain. She decided to walk away from the room since her father wasn't going to tell her the truth. You should let your sister be happy just once, Vega. Please. Vega turned 360 degrees at her father. She seemed to have heard her father wrong. No, possibly he didn't say that to her. What did you say? He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath before repeating the words. I want you to let it slide, Vega. She's your sister after all. Think of the consequences your sister would face if the king finds out about this. Vega staggered backward. Truly her father hated her to the core. The statement he just made was a clear indication of his hatred for her. She ran out of the room without looking back. And as she ran, her heart constricted 1,000 times. Sharp pains from her heart pushed through every corner of her system. What life would she live if she continued to be in the pack? Her sister was about to get married to her mate in front of her very own eyes, and there was nothing she could do about it. What is the essence of living such a life? Vega thought about her mum. She wondered if her mother would give the same judgment as her father had. She went back to her room and lay on her bed. Tears dripped at the corners of her eyes, soaking the sheets she lay on. She stayed in her room for the rest of the day, afraid to go out to witness the preparations for her sister's wedding. Vega drifted off with thoughts of ruining the marriage as advised by her wolf Jackie. Wake up. The loud knock on her room door made Vega scramble off her bed quickly to open the door. As at that moment, she didn't realize she was already in reality. The hard push from Victoria made her realize she had just opened the door. Victoria's face was filled with anger, which was confusing. The last time she remembered, she was the one getting married to a royal Lycan. So she wondered why she looked so furious. What do you want, Victoria? Victoria walked closer to her. Her eyes held hatred in them. Look, let me warn you. Don't even dare try to ruin my marriage, or else I will make your life a living hell. Vega gasped. Did Victoria just come to warn her because she already knew the king was originally her mate? You knew he wasn't your mate, and you let him mark you, didn't you? Vega asked with anger brewing inside her. Victoria lowered her gaze a little, which meant she actually knew. So what if I know? I'm the one he marked. Not you. She yelled, showing Vega her marked neck. This made Vega's blood boil, and Jackie couldn't control it anymore as she lunged at Victoria. She pinned Victoria to the ground so instantly that even her wolf whimpered at the sight of Vega's wolf on the surface. It was clear that Victoria's wolf did not agree with her on this. Of course, why would she? It was clear the Lycan wasn't her mate, but due to Victoria's selfishness, she decided to let herself be marked by the Lycan. What? Do you want to hurt me now? Please do if you think that will change anything. Victoria was right about what she had just said. Hurting her sister wouldn't change the fact that she was already marked by her mate. If anything, it will only make matters worse because she will still be seen as the bad wolf while Victoria, the good wolf, was almost killed by her. Vega immediately backed away from her sister. I want you to never show your face in front of me again. This is the last kindness I'm showing you, Victoria. Who wants to see your disgusting face? Victoria said, storming out of the room. But she suddenly turned back to her. One last warning before I go. Vega shot Victoria a glare. She clearly wouldn't stop getting on her nerves, would she? I don't want to see your disgusting face at my wedding. If possible, hide yourself away until I'm gone, Victoria said before banging the door closed as usual. Vega sat back in her bed. Pain surely wouldn't go away so long as she kept staying in the pack. But if she decided to leave the pack, where would she go? She did not know anyone in the city, nor did she have particular skills with which she could work. All through the days leading up to the wedding, Vega never left her room. She remained indoors to mourn her loss, since she had been warned never to show her face at the wedding. It was better she just stayed indoors because going out would only bring more confusion, since she was identical to her sister. On the wedding day, Vega peeps through her window to see the fleets of cars coming into the mansion. Jackie only sighed from time to time, feeling very distressed. These days, Jackie had been urging her to go for a run, but she refused since she was confined. But she promised her Wolf that they would race into the woods once the party in the mansion was over. She would wait until it was midnight before embarking on the race. Vega spotted someone coming out of the car. He looked familiar. His hair was jet black curly, and his suit was outstandingly well tailored and ironed. Suddenly, Jackie whimpered and said the word mate. Vega placed her hands to her mouth. She could not believe the man standing outside the mansion from her window was her mate. He was the Lichen King. Vega looked at this handsome man in shock. He was huge and bigger than other lichens she had seen. Sadness enveloped her. She had always thought the Lichen King was an old man. No wonder Victoria laughed at her words when she talked about the Lichen King being old. So Victoria knew the Lichen King was strikingly handsome. She can't believe this was the reason her sister allowed herself to be marked by him. How dare she? Anger was beginning to brew inside her again. Just as she looked through the window again, she found the Lichen King staring hard at her window. Immediately, she bolted out the window, her heart beating very fast. Could he have seen her or taken notice of her? This isn't what she wanted. No matter what, she would never put her family in danger. She remembered what her father had told her about the consequences of deceiving the Lichen King. But, still, it wasn't entirely their fault. He should be blamed also. Why couldn't he tell the difference between who was his mate and who wasn't? If it ever came to the point where they got blamed for what happened, she would tell him to his face that he was wrong for not recognizing his mate. Vega returned to the window and found him already gone. She breathed an air of relief, thanking the goddess that he didn't find out. But, still, she wished he did. So all this pain she felt would stop. Vega could hear in her room the laughter and cheers going on around the pack house, whereas she was stuck in her room. Her father didn't even care about her existence. Ever since the day she confronted him about the issue, he has never come to visit her to know if she is okay or not. Sometimes she wished she could ask him why he hated her so much. At first, she was trying to understand why he was being hard on her. But as the day went by, she found out his coldness was only directed at her and not at Victoria. He bought Victoria all kinds of accessories and never bought her anyone. He bought Victoria a phone, but her father never buys for her. It was obvious how partial her father had been towards her compared to her sister, but nevertheless, she still loved them as her family. Her mother had always told her never to abandon her sister for anything, and that's what she had been living by. No matter what happens, she can't make Victoria her enemy because they were sisters from the same mother, and also born on the same day, even though Victoria never acted that way with her. Just as Vega had predicted, when it came to midnight, she no longer heard the sound of laughter and chattering or the sound of music. This meant the celebration was finally over. Vega smiled at her Wolf Jackie. Let's go for our run. Quickly she changed into something more free and also with her backpack. She escaped through the window. Firstly, she peeped around the house but didn't seem to notice anyone around. Figa was being extra careful in order not to make the same mistake she'd made some months ago. She peeped through her father's window, but it was dark as well. She hoped he was actually asleep and not spying on her. She ran out into the woods and immediately changed and shifted to her big white wolf, and so they raced together. This time Viga was very aware of her environment, so she did not have to race past her boundary. It was a miracle the rogue alpha didn't bring war upon her pack the last time. After running a few more laps, Viga decided to head back home. But suddenly, as she was approaching the tree to which her backpack was placed, the sudden scent of minty vanilla blew over her nose. Viga froze. This scent was familiar. If she remembers correctly, it was the same scent she perceived before she found her mate hugging her sister. She immediately stopped thinking. She just realized her mate was in the woods. Panic enveloped her at once, and immediately she ran into a hiding place far from where she had kept her backpack. What was he doing in the woods at this time of night? She wondered. She held her breath when she discovered he was getting even closer to where she was. "I know you are out here. Show your face." His combat authoritative baritone voice reverberated in her head. Viga melted at the voice of their mate, and if not for her willpower, she was sure that Jackie would have sold them out. Viga refused to show herself, but rather kept herself well hidden from him. For more stories, subscribe to At the Romance Library. Thank you for watching.